Hello, I'm Leslie Hook, and I'm here with my fellow San Francisco correspondent, Hannah Kuchler, who covers Twitter. Today we've learned that Jack Dorsey is going to be permanent CEO of both Twitter and Square. Hannah, what does this mean for Twitter?
Well, firstly, it means the wait is over. Investors, analysts, journalists have been waiting for Twitter to appoint a CEO for 3 months, ever since Dick Costolo stepped down in June. And a lot of people would just be glad that there is a permanent person in place. Secondly, and the biggest news, is that despite having previously said they only want a full-time CEO, they are appointing Jack Dorsey, who's the co-founder, even though he has another position, and not only another job, but another CEO position at Square, which was his second company. The reaction to this has been mixed. Shares are up, which is good, 7%, but from quite a low base, Twitter's stock has really been struggling. Some shareholders have come out and said this is a good thing. Jack's seen as a product visionary, the original inventor of the tweet. And others have been more cautious and said, you know, it's irresponsible for them to have a CEO who can't commit full time. So what about at Square? How are they feeling about their CEO running off and joining another company?
Well, Square, like Twitter, is also facing a bit of a difficult period. At Square, it's a very inconvenient time because they filed confidentially for an IPO this summer, which means that they could be doing a roadshow later this year. We don't know the exact timing yet, but obviously going public is a hugely consuming, an all-consuming process for any chief executive, so it's hard to imagine how Jack Dorsey is really going to do both. Have they said anything at Twitter about how he's going to manage his time?
They haven't done a sort of announcement about how he'll spend his days, which they did actually last time. A few years ago, he returned to Twitter while still leading Square as executive chairman, and he was overseeing product development. And at the time, he said, you know, I'll spend 8 hours a day at Twitter, 8 at Square, and bingo, I'll have done full day's work at both. Apart from the fact that most CEOs probably don't only work 8 hours a day. This time they haven't said anything like that, and they haven't, I guess, wanted to tie Dorsey into doing any kind of particular schedule. What they have said is that they've appointed Adam Bain, who was head of revenue, as the chief operating officer. And so some analysts are speculating that Bain will end up basically running a lot of the day-to-day business of the company, while Jack drives these kind of product changes that everyone feels that Twitter desperately needs. What about at Square? Does he have any kind of support there?
Yeah, he does. He has 3 very experienced, all female actually, top executives around him, but there's no clear sort of right-hand person like Adam Bain who could kind of fill in when he's away or otherwise occupied. And Square's facing a lot of challenges right now. You know, it was sort of initially popularized because of the plastic credit card reader that you used to see at craftsman stalls or at the farmer's market, but it's now expanded into a lot of different businesses, from small business lending to food delivery and even enterprise software. So there are some questions about Square's focus, Square's business focus, and I think those questions are going to be even more under the spotlight during the IPO process. So it's certainly a challenging time for the company. Square has said that Jack will still is still committed to leading Square and will, you know, devote his energies to it, and they've tried to send a positive message, but I think a lot of investors and analysts still have unanswered questions. So what are the challenges facing Twitter at this juncture?
So Twitter's biggest challenge, and it has been for some time, is user growth. It has slowing user growth. It's got a user base which is significantly smaller than Facebook. It's recently been taken over by Instagram, and Wall Street has always wanted it to find ways to make the product more accessible so it boosts that user growth. Jack has been working already as interim CEO on projects which try and surface some of the content out there, that it just changing the chronology into something where you can say, okay, well, here's the news that I want to know, or here's the celebrities that I want to know, without putting quite so much work in. So hopefully, apparently, on the call they said today that it will be dramatic evolution of the product, so everyone will be watching and waiting.
So what's the end game here, Hannah? How do you see the situation resolving itself?
So one of the shareholders we've been speaking to this morning had a kind of a funny line. She said either he has to stay at both companies, but she'll only really tolerate it for a year or two, or you merge the companies. It's not really clear whether there's tons of synergies there apart from having the same CEO, but potentially it's an option.
Thank you, and thank you for joining us.
Apple's new iPhone may look the same on the outside, but there are a lot of changes on the inside. As well as a better camera and a faster processor, there's 3D Touch, which means you can